Hi there, Fabian Krause from the Ghana Revenue Authority. This week we focus on property tax. We'll explain who is required to file a property tax return and pay property tax, what is required when filing property tax returns, and how to file property tax returns using e-services. This is where Focus on GRA begins. Welcome to Focus on GRA, a program of information for taxpayer education. Now, the month of March and April are known as the tax season. This is when various categories of taxpayers must submit returns or declarations and pay taxes where necessary on earnings and assets held in the previous year. Resident and non-resident property owners of both residential and commercial property are among them. They must assess the value of their property held during the previous year, calculate its net worth, and pay the applicable taxes. Now, we've invited Mr. Dindi also, who is a tax consultant, a certified tax consultant, to provide an illustration of how property tax is calculated.
While most people associate property with house and land, the Property Tax Act, Chapter 8121, considers movable possessions in the definition. Therefore, your car, furniture, tools of trade, jewelry, paintings and works of art, deposits and shares should all be considered when calculating property tax. Certified tax consultant Mr. Dindi also illustrates how to account for these assets when calculating property tax.
We have a property valued at X dollars, let's say $12 million. That's part of it. You may have some improvements. You may do a fence or put in an additional room. That's a capital expenditure. If the fence is a repair job, it's a revenue expenditure. But if it's a new fence, it's a capital expenditure. Okay? You have a motor car, that's an asset. Household furniture, it's an asset that has to be listed in the computation. Tools used in your trade. If you're a tradesman, you will have tools, that's a welding plant, etc. All that is an asset. We have jewelry as well, is an asset. We have paintings, work of art, and you may have a savings account at the bank. That is part of the assets as well. And you may have some shares, stocks and shares. That is regarded part of assets. So those will be listed, and you'll have a figure at the bottom for those assets. You may have liabilities pertaining to those assets, which I just enumerate. And you may have a bank loan, or you may have an overdraft at the bank. That's an item of liability. You may have a mortgage on that property I mentioned. That's a liability. It may be with one of the commercial banks or New Building Society. That's part of the liability. And so when you do that, you total that up and you deduct these liabilities from the assets I just called out. And in that case, the assets I called out just now amounted to $16,225,000. The liabilities I called out, which I said was $1,375,000. Now we have some exemptions, which the taxpayer is entitled to. We have household furniture, $100,000, exempted. You have tools used in trade, $100,000. We have jewelry, $50,000. And paintings and work of art, $100,000. These are exempted. After you've taken off the liability from the $16,225,000, your liability is $1.375, and your exemptions, which I just explained, amounted to $350,000. So your total deduction, put it in simple language, is $1,725,000, leaving a net property of $14,500,000. How that is being charged to property tax? Now you have an exemption right away of $40 million. So the 14.5 is deducted from the 40 million and is not taxable. But if it's in excess, the net assets of 40 million, it's a tracker tax of 0.75 of 1%, very flat rate.
Individuals filing property tax returns in the assessment year 2022 can do so through GRA's e-services platform or by downloading and filling out the electronic form. Here's a video demo of how to file the return online.
Individuals filing property tax returns in the assessment year 2022 can do so through GRA's e-services platform or by downloading and completing the electronic fillable form. In order to submit the return using e-services, the taxpayer must have property in their name and register such information with the GRA's Central Registration Unit. The taxpayer must also have an e-services account. To learn how to register, check out GRA's YouTube video titled Signing Up for E-Services. Once an e-services account is active, the taxpayer must proceed to the e-services site, eservices.gra.gov.gy, and enter their login details. Select File a Return in the drop-down menu, Individual Property Tax as the tax type, and 2022 as the assessment year. Then, in the bottom right corner of the page, select Start Return. You will be taken to a page with vital information about the return you are submitting. Continue by clicking the Save button. The following page requires you to enter property information such as the value of movable and immovable property. The next page requires you to fill in the details regarding deductions and exemptions in arriving at net property. Click Save and Continue to proceed to the next page, where you can upload one or more documents to support the information you've declared. Click Save and Continue to review the return and confirm that the information submitted is true and correct. Finally, click Submit Return to finish the procedure. Individuals who do not have an e-services account can download and complete the electronic fillable form. The form is available on the GRA's website in the Forms menu under Tax Operations and Services. There are two types of forms: the Individual Property Tax Return form, which applies to holders of residential property, and the Company Property Tax Return form, which applies to business property. Click on either of the links to download the relevant form. Because the forms are in a fillable PDF format, computers must have Adobe Reader installed in order to open them. The fillable forms have dynamic scripts encoded in them that allows the user to see pop-ups notifications about fields missing. It also encodes the barcode with the information you enter on the form. Included in the form are the relevant schedules for details relating to net property to be declared, such as net property in Guyana and outside of Guyana as part of business, movable and immovable property, property for agriculture, and exemptions claimed. Unfortunately, you will not be able to access the form using your browser, especially if your browser doesn't have updated features to read them.
And that's all the time we have in this edition of Focus on GRA. For more information on property tax, we encourage you to visit our website, gra.gov.gy. You can send us your inquiries via email, grapublicrelations@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on our social media pages for up-to-date tax-related information. Thank you for watching. I am Fabian Klaus. Stay safe, everyone.